What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and it's new release Saturday, and we're going to be taking a look at the brand new film Elvis, starring Austin Butler, Tom Hanks, Olivia DeJonge, Helen Thompson, Richard Roxburgh, Kelvin Harrison Jr., David Wenham, Cody Smith McPhee, Luke Bracey, Docre Montgomery, and Anthony LaPaglia. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today, new release Saturday, we're going to be taking a look at the newest motion picture for Tom Hanks, Elvis. And our movie opens in the year 1997 as Colonel Tom Parker, the former manager of Elvis Presley, lays on his deathbed. Parker, who has become obsessed with gambling, begins to look back on how he first met the future king of rock and roll. Now, in his early days, Elvis had a poverty ridden childhood with his parents, Vernon and Gladys. Elvis finds music to be his salvation, even though he is ridiculed by his peers because of his fascination with the African American music of Memphis's Beale Street. Meanwhile, Parker is a carnival huckster who fancies himself kind of like a modern day P.T. Barnum, who plays upon the gullible nature of the audience. Now, even though Parker is already managing country singer Hank Snow, as soon as he hears Elvis on the radio, he is impressed with what he hears, and he begins to have aspirations of becoming his manager. Parker eventually meets Elvis, and he is able to persuade the youngster to let him take control of his career, which then begins a meteoric rise. However, not all of the public is impressed with the young entertainer. Many parents fear that his music is corrupting the youth of America, and racist politicians also attack him for his involvement with black musicians. After a violent incident at a concert, Elvis finds himself facing a possible jail term. However, it is implied that Parker is able to persuade the government to draft Elvis into the U.S. Army as a way of avoiding any further legal entanglements. During his time in the service, Elvis learns that his mother has died of alcoholism. And while stationed in Germany, Elvis meets Priscilla Beaulieu, and upon his discharge, he resumes his career while making concert tours and films, while Parker's control of his life becomes even stronger. As the 60s begin to pass him by, Elvis is heartbroken by the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy, desiring to become more politically outspoken in his music, while Parker merely wants him to sing frivolous tunes that'll be bestsellers. Motivated further by President Lyndon Johnson's speech regarding recent turmoil in America, Elvis gets into the mood to record something different. But a breaking point occurs between Elvis and Parker when Elvis makes a live television recording of various progressive and political songs for what was supposed to be a traditional Christmas show tune broadcast, which ends up infuriating all of the network sponsors. After Parker refuses Elvis's request for a world tour, he locks him into a long-term contract to entertain at a brand new Las Vegas hotel. Elvis then discovers that the reason Parker denied his world tour request was due to the fact that he is an illegal Dutch immigrant with no passport, and he attempts to fire him as a result. In retaliation, Parker initiates a lawsuit for a huge amount that will leave Elvis broke and destitute. A violent argument then breaks out between the two men, and Elvis has to admit that he has no choice but to maintain his management from Parker, although they end up growing apart and rarely see each other afterwards. Eventually, Elvis's life spirals downwards. When Priscilla confronts Parker over his abusive treatment of Elvis, Parker humiliates Priscilla by coercing a drugged Elvis to kiss dozens of women on stage while she is helplessly forced to watch. Frustrated and despondent, Priscilla takes their daughter, Lisa Marie, and leaves him over his prescription drug addiction, which grows even stronger after she's gone. This results in Elvis's death from a heart attack on August 16th, 1977, at the age of only 42 years old. Before his passing, Elvis tells Priscilla that no one will remember him after he is gone. And at one of Elvis's final shows, he is bloated and pale, singing Unchained Melody while the media mocks his appearance and demeanor. Colonel Tom Parker dies old, impoverished, and alone. Now, I'll admit, I didn't really know what I was getting into when I walked into this movie. I knew it was a biopic about Elvis Presley with Tom Hanks starring as Colonel Tom Parker. That was about all I knew. I knew that Colonel Tom Parker was Elvis's longtime manager, but I didn't really know the deep darkness behind the man. I didn't know the way that he was essentially Elvis's puppet master, pulling his strings and making him dance to do everything he wanted. This was an eye opener for me. I have never been the biggest fan of Elvis. I like some of his music. There are a few of his movies that I enjoyed. That was about it. Because I have never been his biggest fan. So going into this, primarily just because of Tom Hanks, if I'm being 100% honest, you guys have heard me gush about how much I love Tom Hanks as an actor here on this channel in the past. Going into this movie primarily because of him and getting to learn all of this background about Elvis and his and Elvis's partnership was just insane to me. When the story began, there was a certain father son type of bond between Elvis and Colonel Tom Parker. But as you got deeper and deeper into the story and you started to realize what was really going on, man, you just start to despise Colonel Tom. And I compare the relationship between Elvis and Colonel Tom to that of Easy E and Jerry Heller. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Straight Outta Compton. But there's very much that unified bond between the two men throughout a good chunk of the movie until it's discovered that Cube and Dre were right all along about him. It's very much similar in this because once the world tour aspect starts to come to the surface, and some of the other people that are in Elvis's Memphis Mafia are trying to get him to go on this world tour, that's when things really start to bubble to the surface about what's really going on with Colonel Tom. I must admit, though, this movie was a lot better than I had anticipated. Maybe it's the song selection that they used. Baz Luhrmann's directing, cinematography, the storytelling, whatever it is. I can't really put my finger on it. I'm going to have to go back and watch it again when it hits home media, streaming, whatever. But there was just something about it that reached through the movie screen and pulled me in from the beginning. And when a movie can do that to you, you've got a stellar film. I wouldn't be surprised to see Austin Butler nominated for an Oscar for his performance as Elvis. Same with Tom Hanks for supporting actor for his role as Colonel Tom. Will that happen? We'll have to see when award season comes around next year. When it comes to my review, my rating for this film, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really am sold on this film, but I can't give it 5 stars just yet as it's my first time seeing it. But it was a damn good movie, and whether you are an Elvis fan, not an Elvis fan, a Tom Hanks fan, an Austin Butler fan, I highly recommend that you check this film out, especially if you enjoy Baz Luhrmann films, Strictly Ballroom, Moulin Rouge, etc. Then you may just like this because you're a fan of the director. 4.5 out of 5 stars, though. I highly recommend that you guys check this out. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, when we once again step into the war zone. That's right, it's time once again for the weekly acquisition report, the show where I show off some of the newest additions to my ever growing media library. And then following the war zone, over on the Jeff Meacham Network, join Jeff as he takes a look at the 67th anniversary of the grand opening of Disneyland. As of this recording, Jeff is supposed to be there on site to celebrate the big day. Whether that stays the course or not remains to be seen, card subject to change, of course. But whether he is there or he is at his home, he will be celebrating the 67th anniversary of the happiest place on earth. You're not going to want to miss out on any of that content, both here on the Casa D18 Studios channel and over on our friends network, the Jeff Meacham Network. To all my fans and friends out there, thank you for tuning in and joining me here today. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you can be alerted at all my uploads, all my new videos. Get out there, share this video with all your family, friends, movie lovers, Elvis fanatics, Baz Luhrmann fanatics, Tom Hanks fanatics, cinephiles, whoever you know that you think could enjoy this video. Share it with them, help spread the word so we can boost me up in the YouTube algorithms so I can eventually get enough viewer hours, get monetized. We're making progress, but we've got a lot of work left to go. Once again, thank you for tuning in today, and I will see you guys next time.